We pay 5 figures to spend 5 days confined on a yacht with Grant Cardone. And what he told us will take our $400 million multifamily real estate portfolio to $10 billion in the next 5 years. Before you roll your eyes, here's why we can say that. The strategy that got us to $400 million will not get us to $10 billion. Grant showed us the new playbook the one billionaire switched to when the old system taps out. And the crazy part, his next move is something you can use even if you're not a real estate mogul yet. Stay to the end because we're breaking down the starter version you can use to compress 25 years of wealth building into the next 24 to 36 months. But first, we weren't even supposed to be on the yacht. Oh my goodness. We tried so many times to talk ourselves out of going. Like, it's close to Thanksgivings, it's 5 figures, we're not boat people. I'm literally landing from Cambodia that day. A few days earlier, you just landed from Thailand. Every excuse we threw out it, we literally said, let's just skip it. Then a friend texted, we should go. And in that moment, we had a choice, default to no or use creativity to say yes. That yes changed everything. By the way, our names weren't even on the manifest. Okay, it's not like we were just trying to hitch a ride on a Ritz-Carlton cruise, which is probably really impossible. So the whole setup was really, really kind of cool actually. It felt like a 5-star hotel experience from the very beginning. They escorted us when we got to the port, the dock where the yacht was parked, I guess. So we got docked, that's the right word. So when we got there, it was really amazing experience. There were all these people helping us, walk us, escorting us everywhere. So we got to the part where you check in. First, they gave us these cool snacks, and I thought, well, sounds really nice. Okay, then we got to the check-in. Our friends went to one table, checked in. Seems fine. And then the lady who was checking us in gave us this weird look. And she's like, I'm gonna need to take your passports. And I'm like, whoa, what's going on? Like, where are you taking our passports? And she's like, we can't find your name. Are you on this cruise? Yes. And then we looked at our friends who actually, he helped us buy the tickets. We just bought it together. And we're like, hey, they say we're not allowed to be on the boat. What do we do? It took a long time and we kept seeing people board. And I was like, wow, are we going to be left behind? My question to him was like, wait, did you book 1 cabin or 2 cabin? But regardless, we're going to get on that yacht. Like, we're going to get on that boat because I'm going to squeeze into your room. And you know what's interesting? It's like some sort of a psychological thing because originally we didn't want to go. So therefore, it wasn't a big deal, right? Like, we chose not to go. And so we were happy with that. But the moment that we chose to go and we made the effort to fly across the country, Nan literally landed like 6:30 that a.m. in Los Angeles, came home to just a shower, have a change of clothes, pack, and then at 10 a.m. and then left again to go on a 12:30 departure flight. So I didn't actually get home till 8:30. So you were barely, and then like we had to leave home at 10. Yeah, so you were barely home. Yeah. After like a almost 24-hour trial from Asia. And then we get to walk our dog, which is amazing. So that was like a weird psychological thing. Like the moment that you put in the effort and you're expecting to go on something and you're like, why am I not allowed on? I was like, I'm not flying back to today. I was like, we really have to on a lot of thoughts. Anyway, right? So after a lot of struggles, we were able to finally. No, actually, before they the risk people was like, oh no, we need to talk to the organizer. And we're like, call them. No, they're not answering. Yeah, they're on the yacht. They're on the boat. So we had after a really, really long thing, we were able to get on. We were literally the last people to board. And so it was like, it's a interesting scenario where had we chose to stay home, we would have been fine. But because we already paid, now we're excited. We're expecting to be on the boat. And we're like, the thought of having to just leave was really a downer. But luckily we made it on. Yes. And then they're like, oh, unfortunately, we only have this room left. It's just on the 8th floor. And I have no idea what that means. So I was like, okay, in my mind, I'm like, okay, the higher the deck level, that means it's better, right? Because it's like you don't want to be on the low. I was thinking like the Titanic, like the first class were like on the top, and then like the lower but Nan was thinking the opposite, and I'm like, and I was like, no. It was like 1, 2, 3. I knew it was like the higher the number is the higher deck, and I'm like, no, we'll take it, and the room was amazing. So yay, we finally boarded the yacht. Okay, Palm, going into this cruise, what was the one question or struggle we secretly hope would get answered by Grant Cardone? So as we know, Grant Cardone really scaled fast. He's the master of really syndication for multifamily. And one of the things we wanted to discuss with him was, how do we scale our own 400 million multifamily portfolio into something significantly larger? What we wanted to know is, how do we get from 400 million to $10 billion in 5 years? What was the thing that we needed to do? Because we know what got us here won't get us there. Exactly. We weren't looking for motivation. We were looking for were the model. And while being with Grant Cardone for 5 days was incredible, would you agree the people who were there, all the millionaires, changed us the most? And what was your favorite moment?
There's a lot of favorite moments. So that was the one really important thing. This cruise, because of the price tag, really kind of self-selected the people who are going to be able to afford it. And so the cool part is we met so many different people. Some are in real estate, some are not in real estate. Really a whole gamut of professions, of age, of even nationality. You saw people from a whole bunch of different countries.
Some even flew in from like Switzerland, Sweden,
Mauritania, where we didn't know at the time where it was, but now we know. So honestly, like in any situation like this, we're not going to have a whole bunch of one-on-one time with Grant. Of course, we were in masterminds with him the whole time, but the 95% of the time, and really the value isn't just from learning from Grant, which we did, but learning from everyone else and being inspired by everyone else who was on the cruise with us. The people that we met really inspired us in different ways and also provided very different perspective on what they're doing, how they're scaling their businesses. And that was something really important that I think when we were denying ourselves the prospect of going, we didn't really consider that full implication. We didn't know who would be on the cruise.
Yeah, so like one of my favorite moments was when we were just like talking and hanging out and Grant walked by and then we just like, hey, we're your Thai girls. And we start creating this meme, right? Which is so funny because this just again reaffirmed how warm, how hilarious, how funny, how cool Grant really is.
And you know what's really cool? That specific question that I mentioned earlier when I asked him, how do we scale our multifamily from 400 million to 10 billion in the next 5 years? You can see the sincerity in his reply. Number one was like, he said, I believe you can do it. You know, like when you have someone who you respect and honor, who looked directly into your eyes and said, I know you can do it. It gives you the confidence that what you dream of isn't like far-fetched or it's not something that's impossible. So that was something really meaningful that happened.
And you know what? You have to ask the right people the right questions because he's the one who literally done it.
Yeah.
That's why he knew it was possible.
Yeah.
And he knows us. So he knows that like us doing it is possible.
That was one of the coolest moments, I think, for us on the boat. And what had happened is like, I didn't know sometimes like the numbers that we speak of sometimes for other people may feel like they're really big and out there. But because we are so entrenched and used to saying these numbers because they're our reality every single day, 400 million for two immigrant girls from Los Angeles who just started this business 7 years ago. Maybe those girls would not believe it, but today that's our reality. And so one of the things, the byproduct of what happened when we announced this is the other people on the boat came up to us afterwards and said, I just love how you guys speak of these really big numbers in such nonchalant and confident manner. I think like that helped even other people on the boat. Some people who are already seasoned and really successful in their own ventures also see the scope and scale of what's possible in multifamily apartments.
Definitely. I mean, for those of you who are new here, our first deal was a $6.9 million deal. To other people, it may seem a big number, but for us, we're like, that's kind of small.
Yeah.
It was instant.
Yeah, it was small because at the time when we were buying those units, we thought we had to buy 100 plus and ours was only 76 units. So yeah, there are many other moments, but those were two just like memorable things that happened on the cruise. So the real magic, like I said, happened because not just Grant, not just Elena, but because of the 200 other plus people who were on board.
100%. People think it's about being around real estate people only. No, it's about being around great entrepreneurs.
Yeah, I met people who were doing software for data centers, a young kid who's doing quants, trading, Forex, people who are doing like tour guide companies, like all different stuff. And the important thing I think we always embrace is we can learn from anyone. We don't have to learn just from ultra rich people, ultra successful people like we did on this specific yacht experience, but we can learn from everyone. The key is be humble enough to know that you don't know everything and be curious enough to extract things that you can learn from every single experience you have.
So Palm, was there one conversation that shifted how we see our business?
There were several. I think the really important one that not just real estate investors, but anyone who's starting a business need to focus on that Grant said, actually wasn't Grant, it was his COO who said it, is you have to focus on the top line revenue of your business. You can focus on growth all you want, but the growth engine is only sustainable and you're only able to afford the best of the best and keep growing your business if you have revenue. And a lot of people, especially when they first get started in multifamily, we focus on, hey, accumulation of assets, accumulation of ownership equity, which is amazing, and cash flow that comes with it. But as a business, you need to focus on how does this business generate revenue for me?
That can help you afford to hire good people.
And that's the thing that inspired me as well. well along that line is we need to hire the best of the best. He's like a hurricane that runs through stuff. There's a group of people that comes and matches that intensity in a way that's organized and allows for like those visions that are grandiose to come into reality. And I think for us both, like we tend to have really amazing vision. I mean, like, come on, I will take credit for this. Like we came with the iPad pouch before it became big and all of it. Like we have so many creative ideas. And I think we tend to be our own bottlenecks due to our already pretty intense schedule, traveling and everything. We need people behind the scenes who can actually fulfill our vision. And that's the one thing that I saw that was like, hey, we need to focus on that as well.
Actually, that's the one conversation that actually shift how we see our business and how we can take it to the next level.
Yeah, absolutely. Because like basically we've always been a very lean operation, but I think at some point to scale to 10 billion, it's going to have to be a more robust company with a whole bunch of really talented people who see our vision. And that's the also important thing, like being a smaller firm, just 400 million asset under management, the vision of where we're going to take the business is going to be so important to get A players to believe in us, believe in where the company's going to grow, believe in their place in the company so that we can take it to the 10 billion, maybe in less than 5 years.
So Palm, real talk. Did this cruise shift how we think about multifamily, capital raising, or the future of the industry?
Honestly, I feel like it's more of a confirmation because we are always very agile people. We're not rigid. And so what I always feel like we strive and we're really good at is looking where the market is at any given moment and having a new playbook. We're not going to stick to an old playbook in a new reality. In 2025, going to 2026, what works today won't be the same playbook that we used in 2019 or 20. And so this trip really reaffirmed that. Essentially, it reaffirmed that multifamily isn't dying or investing in real estate isn't dying. It's that mediocre operators are. People on the ship are doubling down, maybe tripling down, but they're operating with new systems, new teams, AI, partnership.
I got to see with my own eyes what capital raising looks like at the billionaire level. No pitch, no 47 slides presentations, just the right environment where people know, like, and trust you. Because here's the truth. People don't invest because of a slideshow or the number looks great, right? Because they all pretty much look the same. They invest because of the room they're in and the relationships they feel. That's where the real deals happen, in circles where everyone genuinely knows, likes, and trusts each other.
And of course, behind all that, you need proper documentation, which speaks to the risk and reward profile. So fundamentals are important, underwriting are important, but any fundamental investment in anything you choose, you have to believe in the people behind the projects. I think that when you strictly focus on the attributes of a real estate deal, you end up actually hurting yourself because it's not a monolithic thing. It's not like you're buying this piece of rock and it's gonna become something important. You're buying into a building that has to be operated, that people have to be good at what they're doing, have to raise rents, reduce expenses, and more importantly, deal when crises happen. And crises will happen. Fires will happen. Employees may change. You have to deal with some tenants. You have to deal with the city. In some order, you're gonna have to deal with one of those things, if not more. So two identical properties operated by two different people will have significantly different results depending on who operates it. So Nan is right. Know, like, and trust factor is very important. It's very important to vet out the people who's operating the deal. More important than the deal itself, because the deals come and go, but they're not commodities. The people behind it are what's really important.
Where did we realize we've been thinking too small?
Grant mentioned that he got to, I think $5 billion asset under management right now, right? And his vision is $50 billion asset under management. But on the cruise, he said for the first time, he actually understands how it can be $1 trillion. And that's when I realized, we set our goal at 10 billion, which is already our significant bump from where we are. I think it's like 20x, right?
Yes.
It's already a 20x.
20x for life.
10x is too small. Just kidding. So basically, I just see that in the space we're in, if we do good work, we genuinely help people, the ceiling is always going to be moving up. We raise our floor and bust through the ceiling. And that's where I realized, whatever we set that number to, we'll hit. We'll fill the room. Basically, if we set our fishbowl to be this size, we'll find a way to fill it. If we set the fishbowl to be that big, we're going to find a way to fill it. So the larger we set that next kind of threshold, that's how big our rooms can be. That's why we just need to make that space bigger so that we don't think small.
And I think proximity is power, right? When you're in a room full of people who think big, you can't help but to think bigger and dream bigger.
And we even talked amongst ourselves after one of like the sessions in our room, in our cabin, that
With friends.
if we come back a year from now and we're still at 400 million, shame on us. And you guys can hold us accountable for that too, because that would be horrible. That means that we didn't make any meaningful progress towards our desired goals.
I guess like that conversation came about when someone said, hey, you're like the top 1%. They are just being here on a yacht. And then I'm like, that's correct. But if we're still here like next year, the same place, then we're not really the top 1%.
So the top 1% is a really wide group of people. We shouldn't be satisfied just making it there. We should strive to be better than just the top 1% of the top 1%.
Yeah,
exactly. So we're just like, we should strive to be better than where we are today. Not really competing with other people, but if we're just happy to have already made it, then we're never going to get to where we want to go.
So what did Grant Cardone actually tell us about going from $400 million to $10 billion in assets?
Yeah, so basically he says that if you want to get there, we can't do what he's done or what we've done. That basically getting a $1 million check investor is nice and we're grateful for what we've gotten with that. But to get to 10 billion, easy math is, let's say the leverage is 50%, just for easy math. That means you have to raise $5 billion. So if you want a $1 million check, it's going to take so much longer. What he told us is you need to go for the big checks, $100 million, $500 million,
$1 billion.
$1 billion check. Those are the sizes that we need in order to realistically get to 10 billion in 5 years. Because raising $50,000 or $100,000 like how we started is not going to do that. And it's not practical. The other thing that what his like right-hand man told us is like, we are really good at what we're doing, but not enough people already know that we are. And that's the other part
and he asked us like, if 100 more people or 1,000 more people know of you guys,
if 10
right?
times
Like
more.
know of the Kitti Sisters, how would that change our business?
Yeah, and of course it would change it a lot because 10x the number of people who know us today. We've raised $130 million in the past 7 years times 10x. That's
$1.3 billion.
Simple math, right?
So you need new vehicle, new partnerships, and bigger capitals. You need to build a platform, not just a portfolio. Here's the $10 billion lessons from Grant Cardone's yacht that he broke down into 3 steps.
Okay, step number 1, build a capital machine, not raising per deal. Build a permanent capital engine that scales without you. And this is really important because like when we first started, it was all based on and it still is actually, because we raised right now all our money through 506B. So it's all through one-on-one relationships. While we have a really robust list of investors, I think like we've done a really good job with that. But again, to get to there's a ceiling of how many people Nana and I can speak to in a single day. And how many of those people will cut large enough checks to get us to $5 billion capital raises. This is not practical. So you have to have permanent structures that allow the money to come in a way that is sustainable, but also large enough so that it makes sense for where we want to go. 2, build partnerships instead of pipelines. Collaboration is definitely the new currency. And this is where we love, because we always feel like we rather have a small piece of a watermelon than an entire grape. Because a lot of people, they feel like I need 100% control. I need to have everything in my hand, do everything myself. Oh my gosh, like that's the last thing we ever want to do. There are special skills that every single person brings to the table on our team, and we're definitely not good at everything, for sure. Like we were talking to one of our partners and he was asking like, hey, can I get into the minutia? Can I learn about really fine details of the construction portion of our project? And I told him, frankly, that's not what we're here to do. And that's not something that you want to do as well as you're scaling, growing this business. What you need to focus on the things that are the multiplier effect, the things that will move the needle the furthest, and what you're good at instead of focusing on learning everything. Because we can hire people who are good at the things we're not, but there are special skills that we have that is also not really transferable. So focus on that part. I mean, honestly, we've talked about this from the beginning. If we didn't have the right partners every step of the way, we would not be where we are today. And the partnership structure involved, it changed. It started when we were brand new babies, basically with our first $6.9 million 76 unit deal. We knew very little about the business, to where we are today, where we're now the lead senior partners in a deal where we can help guide and mold new people. That's one of the things that we love, not just partnering with people who have already achieved things we want, which of course we want to do, but we really, really enjoy bringing people along in this business so that new people who are getting their feet wet or have really amazing talents and smarts in other businesses now can come into a team that is already established and is growing. I think that's the wonderful part of partnerships because we're learning things from every single person.
Yes, and we are not specialized in all markets, right? But we want to be in many markets. So by bringing partnerships who have specialized, who have market intelligence in those markets helps. And we always, like you said, we always look for three things: deal and money. People who can write big checks, right? People who want to be involved in multifamily but don't have the time, energy, the resources, or even the skill set.
Number 3, build a team that outgrows your talent. So Grant said most people stay small because they never hire someone who can replace them. To get to 10 billion, we need leadership, not labor. So we need people who can be independent of us, have autonomous decision-making that we can say, hey, this is where you are strong, go take it and run. Because if we have to fall into the, again, minutia of every operations, be in every meeting, be the person that's hiring everyone, it will never grow. So don't be afraid to relinquish some control so you actually can win big. If you think you need to make every single critical decision, you're wrong. I mean, like, if you look at all the Fortune 500 companies, if you look at the most successful people in the world in business, they don't run everything. They probably don't know 95% of what's happening in their business on like a minutia level. Where to order the pens from, who's hiring the new copy machine guy, where do we travel, who's our travel agent, all that stuff. They don't know, but they know the big critical things. And that's what you need to focus on.
And here's the part that shocked us. You don't need a $400 million portfolio to use this. You can start the starter versions of the Billionaire Playbook today. 1, build your capital base. 2, build partnerships. 3, build systems bigger than your current goals. Do that, and you can compress 25 years of wealth building into the next 24 to 36 months. And that's what we came home with. It's a wrap.